You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And so I'm excited today to have a good friend of mine, one of my clients who's doing some awesome things in the marketplace. And we got to talking, and I was like, yeah, I got a book. You have a book? What's the book about? So we started all this. And so let me introduce you to Curtis Jenkins. Curtis is from Philadelphia. He's the author of the only job search book you'll ever need. He's an entrepreneur, okay, the owner of Jenkins and Associates companies. He's focused on real estate investments and management consulting and helping small businesses through advisory board services and strategic consulting, all right? And he's a keynote speaker, speaking on such topics as using the marketing mix to rise above the competition. That's kind of the theme of this show today from a job search perspective, mergers and acquisitions, lessons learned and applied, project management for leaders, 7 simple steps, strategies for nonprofit growth, membership, and money. That's a biggie because most of these people think their whole business model is begging for money. So, and I'm not going to go there. All right. And so he's an award-winning project management VP working at a global chemical company. So he's working in a bigger company. And for fun, he loves traveling. He loves playing golf. He's trying to get me to come with him. Unfortunately, I don't know how to play. Yes. So my doctor says,
we would be better friends if you did.
Right. So I'm working on that. You know, my doctor's like, look, you got to give it up. Every time you come in, you're hurt. So, and my wife wants me to give it up, but I said, my jumper is still there. And he loves gathering with friends and families. Curtis's personal vision is to change my world one person at a time through meaningful and impactful engagements, creating positive experience at every encounter. Curtis, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show.
Hey, thank you. And it's funny, we're going to be saying thank you, Curtis, and hey, Curtis.
Right.
So thank you, Curtis, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's my pleasure. And so I really wanted to lean in because what I was thinking about, a lot of people that are working in corporate America don't know how to negotiate their value, and they feel trapped because they're clinging to this job and they don't see themselves or understand the value that they create for the company in the marketplace. And so, and I just, in our conversation, I was like, this is a good conversation to get out there. But I know you went through some things that kind of inspired the book. Tell them what I didn't tell them. And then I want you to tell them what inspires you to write this is the book, the only job search book you will ever need.
The biggest thing is, listen, when you read my personal vision, I'm a people person. I'm a connector, and I got that term from Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, right? You had all these various personalities. You have the salesperson, you have the maven, which I surround myself with mavens because they know everything. You want to research a car? Call the maven friend. He's already done the work for you.
Right.
And then there's the connector, right? And so when I talk about me being able to create a positive encounter for everyone, not only my engagement with one-on-one like we're doing right now, right? But, knowing what your business is and what we do together, when other people ask me questions, I like to be that person that makes that connection. Right. And it's a positive encounter for everyone because I want to be someone that people would want to look up to. But I love being around other people where I can look up to them because I think everybody has something to offer. Yeah. They just have to be willing to share it.
Right.
So I can talk more about me from that perspective, but let's go ahead and get into so you say, what made me write the book?
Right.
Well,
what happened, right?
Yeah. So, the event, prior to even thinking about a book, the event was I got laid off in 2002. And you talk about an impact to your ego, right? I mean, I was stunned and I thought, and I was really stunned. And in the book, you'll see when I had a family meeting and my son said, are we going to be poor? Because I was announcing that I lost my job. And he didn't know anything about being poor, but he still impacted me by asking me that question. And so just like anybody that loses their job, it's okay. You got a mourning period. You can feel it, but you got to get up and you got to do something. And I learned how to make looking for a job my job. And then I learned how to make looking for a job my lifestyle, so that I don't have that feeling again, so that I'm always in a situation where I'm going to be employed, or as an entrepreneur that you mentioned, that I get to take care of myself.
Right.
And so if you look at who I am in my core, right, one of the things I'm very organized, and that's the project management piece. And you'll hear that as a constant theme, right? I know how to get from point A to point B. I know how to plan. And so the other part of me is I'm a natural teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that goes back to the connection and the connection with others. So when I was helping everybody with my process, because it was a process that I learned how to look for jobs and how to market myself, and we'll talk more about that using the marketing mix. People started coming to me asking me, well, how did I find a job so fast? What's my process? How do I move up in companies? And I started to write that stuff down. And then I built a business behind it, a management consulting business, and I started helping people with this process. And so you get to help people, but so much when it comes to one-on-one, right? And so I wanted to create content. And that's where the book came. And I got encouragement from family and friends, as well as people who were actual clients to say, hey, put this down on paper so that now you can reach the masses and help them. So that was really what, the evolution of how I got to the book. And to be quite frank, I apologize, Curtis.
No.
Be quite frank. So, because this is an entrepreneur channel that you're doing, right?
Yes.
So I do want to add the entrepreneurial angle. When I studied people who do very well in life, there's a number of things that you do to create multiple streams of income.
Yep.
So I had a lot of the content written down, but I kept coming across this thing about creating content and writing a book and creating a class. So it was a convergence of those things that said, you know what, Curtis, just do this. So it also creates another stream of income.
It really does. I mean, intellectual property is probably the number one asset, because you're being an expert, there's not a lot of overhead, and can really, it's nobody can duplicate it because they can't duplicate you.
Right.
And so you're kind of competition proof. Really, you can make it's not any opposite. Competition can be your clients,
Right.
So you can be more, as long as you're more mentally collaborative. So
right.
I think that's great. I think also what's so powerful about it, because to me, people live in fear, I think. And so I was told, listen, this is in Pennsylvania, but this is in jobs in general. You can get fired for one or two reasons, any reason or no reason at all.
Right.
So in my mind, that's risky.
That's right. That's very risky.
That's risky in entrepreneurship, because one is the worst. That's like you're a consultant, you got one client, they let you go, boom. I had somebody that was making $100,000 a year, had one client that was paying them good money, and then somebody didn't like that she was exposing all of the waste that was going on, that was getting ripped off, and they got in the owner's ear, and boom, next thing you know, she was out of a contract, and all her income was gone, like literally within a weekend.
Yeah.
So that's risky, but security, I heard once say, is the ability to produce. And so tell them you recognize your value and you realize that you're the product.
Exactly.
And then you have to market your product. But I want to talk about the mindset of that first.
And when you talk about being a product, I'm going to talk about branding as well, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, if you think about when you're looking for a job, but there's also the job looking for talent.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the ones with the pocketbook. So they're the consumers, right? You just have to be the most available and valuable consumer that they're looking for. Just like there are other products, I can pick any kind of suit that I want, but I want the suit that is going to provide me with the best experience, right? Taste, and I might pay a premium for that.
Yep.
So when I talk about myself as a product, it's the goods and services that I can provide based on the talent that I have. And so I consider myself one of the best project managers you'll ever meet. Now, I know some great project managers, And but the idea is that I want to always try to position myself so that if I have the opportunity, I get to showcase myself as that product, right? I want to be at like in the supermarket, I want to be at the eye level, right? And that is making sure that I understand and can articulate my craft, practicing it daily, every day, right? I want to make sure that I got a series of testimonies of great experiences that other people have had because they worked with me. So I want to show that the proof is in the pudding. And I want to show that I'm an easy person to work with. And that, working with me is not just, it's all about work, but it's a pleasurable exchange of our time.
Right.
And all of that just comes into your packaging. So if you take social media, for example, if I can be sitting across from you having this conversation right now, but if you go look me up in my social media and it's contrary to what I'm saying, I've hurt myself, right? So
Right.
you got to think about your brand as something holistic. Even the way I dress, right? I read a book years ago called Lions Don't Need to Roar. And that book imprinted on me. And I've actually used it as my company logo because, when you think of a lion, they call it the king of the jungle, right? It's very well respected, but it's very majestic and royal. And so it reminds me to carry myself in a way that, is that people see me, that I care about how I look and then how I carry myself. Now, the other thing about a lion, if you want to dive deep into their behaviors, right? They're fiercely protective. And I grew up where I basically had to be the protector of my family for so many years. And so I take care of my pride, and I do so with pride. So, when you're branding yourself, that whole thing is about how people see you on a regular basis and how people see you as it relates to your profession, your ability, your reputation, your network, all those things. So yeah, I mean, you got to focus on you being the best you. And even when you are the best you, that doesn't mean somebody's going to keep you at a job. Like you said, you could be fired for no reason at all. But you want it so that it's like a right arm, right? Yeah, you can fire me, but you're going to bleed out.
Right. You got to make it right. You got to make it hard to do that. But the thing is, if you're that good,
Yep.
somebody will find you. Somebody will always have some people, there are people that will hire people. There's a guy, I study strategic coach, right?
Yep.
Next year. And with my Colby score, he has a standing order that if we do a Colby and they have he calls it a facilitator, they're hired on the spot, whether or not they even have a position for them, because they know that they're, that's a unique person apparently, and that can do whatever you throw at them. And so people are always looking for good people, as long as you can bring value. See, because it's really
that value is everything.
Yourself, right? Do you see yourself as a wage slave, or are you all self-employed? You're just selling your labor to the employer, right? And so, but are you a good product? So it goes back to the holistic branding. So if I'm looking you up and your credit's bad and you got all kinds of crazy stuff on Facebook, you got tattoos all up and down your neck, unless you're like in that industry, then you're hurting your product.
That's right. That's right.
And young people don't think about that.
Right.
Long range. Okay, what is this and where can I go? And, because you got to look like the people you're trying to go see if you're, in a people business. You can't be like this outlier, crazy looking person, because impressions mean something. So you have to, I used to sell clothes. So I realized my buddy was in the Ralph Lauren shop, right? And I realized, investment dressing, why they like Ralph Lauren. They got pearl buttons. These shirts will last 10, 15 years. And even when you're casual, there's a casual look, because even casual, affluent people want you to know there's a fluid. It's very subtle.
It's very subtle.
It's the certain type of dockside, it's very subtle.
That's right.
you can see it. So you go to Bar Harbor or you go to these places, you know,
That's right.
look they have. And so you need to be able to, my father used to tell me, he said, listen, you gotta, in marketing, when I was growing my business, I was like in my early 20s, he said, listen, you gotta go where the people that you want to meet go.
Exactly.
And right. And they said, listen, and if you keep showing up, eventually they'll go, well, okay, he must be one of us. And then they'll start talking to you.
That's exactly right. I've said that to people around the boardroom. I've said, look, you got to look like you belong there and you got to act like you belong there. You've heard it with the NFL when guys score touchdowns, they say, act like you've been there.
Yes.
But I tell people in relationships too, you know, you hear somebody say, oh, I can't find a good man. Well, you got to go where good men are.
Yes.
So that's
oh
just
my goodness. Yes.
with
yes,
everything,
yes.
right? You just got to go where people are.
You got to go somewhere. Dan Keynes say you got to go somewhere,
Yep.
Be somebody and do something.
Yep. There you go.
Right. And that's so powerful. And so because who said, I don't know who said this, but security, there's no opportunity. There's no security. There's only opportunity. Security is the ability to produce. And so many people are worried about, oh, my job. I'm like, okay. Anytime I've ever won a job, I've only worked for like maybe 13 months, my whole career, but I've never taken me more than like 2 or 3 weeks to find one.
Yeah.
Because I could sell. I knew everybody always needs something that has to be marketed. And so talk about marketing yourself. I want to go off of this because this is your show, not mine. I mean, it's my show, but you're the interviewer, so I'm talking too much. But this is how, so folks, we talk like this all the time. So you're, this is how we talk. We are like on a client call. We might spend 20 minutes off on some tangent somewhere. So our always take 2 hours. And not going to do that today, folks. But so you're the product. And so, all right, so if you're the product, then you have to market.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the 4 P's of marketing, right?
Okay.
So this was a concept created to show a product's unique offerings and positionings, right?
Mm-hmm,
so there's product, price, position, and promotion. And you heard me talk a little bit about product, right? And why that's important. So I'll just go ahead and move on from product. But then there's price, right? And that is the cost. So the price in a job situation is basically, you know, what you negotiate. It's your salary, whether you're a contractor, the type of contract you negotiate, all of that. So what I do and what I tell people to do is make sure you know what your value is first against the market. And there's easy ways to find that out, right? Because you got research systems like LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Payscale.com, and Salary.com. And those are, you know, what I call opted in data points that they have amassed where people like told them what it is. So it might be on, it might be off, but it's still directional because that's what HR people do. That's what they use, right? They want to make sure they create budgets based on the market and based on what they can afford, right? And they adjust the positions to that. So if nothing else, just put yourself in that baseline position. The other thing is, you know, as a project manager, I didn't want to get my PMP, but I knew that I had to get my PMP just as a baseline against other PMPs, which is the Project Management Professional Certification. Okay. That is like the thing to have as a project manager. I could be a better project manager, but without that credential, I'm already being put below others, right? So make sure you get that baseline. And so that's your market value, your research
the baseline value for what you need in the industry you want to be in.
In the industry and in the location, because a New York job is different than a Delaware job, right? Okay. Because of the cost of living. But that's your market researched value. Then there's your intrinsic value. This is what makes you slightly above everyone else. And so if I talk about some of the things that I've been able to do where, you know, it's been able to sell me as a product and get more value, is I've been able to show that I've run a nonprofit, $1 million nonprofit organization, just volunteering. If I can do that, why can't I have $1 million budget when I come to this organization? And I'll show you how I did it with volunteers. Oh, by the way, I can even do it even better with people who are incented by their salaries. And so I add on a number of things that I've done in my career. And again, with the testimonies that say, in addition to just this baseline, I command sort of a higher salary or maybe even perquisites, right? So how about maybe some stock options or things like that?
Right.
Because I know that I can deliver for you. And here's the proof in the pudding. Like the current job that I had, when I was asked, hey, what would it take for you to come work for us and work for me? I wrote a 17-page proposal. And in that proposal was the reason why you should hire me and what I'm going to do within the next 100 days, what my position should entail, how many people that need to report to me, and what I'm going to deliver within the first 90 days, the first year, and then the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, how I mature the position. I'm going to be honest with you. I did it all. And that's why I'm a VP in this position now. So, and it doesn't stop there. I continue to grow because, listen, I'm not at the mountaintop. You're never there. But I'll tell you, the thing that makes me want to come to work more is now teaching others and bringing others up. Yeah. So that's the price part. Then there's, so we get product and price. Then there's position. You got to put yourself in the best possible position in order to be available for the next opportunity, right? And so what is opportunity? That's preparation. That's what? Luck, meeting preparation?
Where opportunity meets with preparation.
Yeah, there you go. So my half-Alzheimer's kicked in, right? I'm not old enough for Alzheimer's, but half of it sometimes. But you want to always position yourself or able to get to you. So remember, we just talked about it. Be where people are that you want to meet to get where you at. And I make sure I'm always making sure that I'm positioning myself with people that will allow me to grow. I don't like being the smartest person in the room. I mean,
Amen.
And I want to learn from everyone. And I don't want to act like I'm the smartest person in the room. I could appear to be the smartest if we're talking about a specific subject matter, but everybody has something to offer. And I try to draw that out so that I can gain more. And so you just always want to put yourself in a great position. When you are putting your social media together, whether it's fun social media or something like LinkedIn Business, it should always reflect your brand and the story that you're trying to tell. You want to always put yourself in a position where somebody's thinking of you. There's a term that say it's not what you know, but who you know.
Right.
And I say it's who knows you.
Who knows you. That's
it's
right.
Because there's somebody somewhere with a problem and you want your name to come up in their minds to solve it. And if not you per se, they want to know you because they know your network.
Right.
So that's the position. And then the creme de la creme on top of that is promotion. And so if you can work yourselves with sponsors and mentors are great, but sponsors are better. Mentors will teach you things and help you and things like that. But a sponsor will just leverage their reputation and they will say, you know what, use this person, right? So somebody will call me up and say, hey, I'm looking for this type of talent. Can you help me out? And I might say, here's 3 people, but this one person, this is who you should hire. And this is who I'll stake my reputation on because I have such a relationship with them. Or, you know, there are some people that will ask me for a referral and I'll say, sure, I'll give you the referral and I'll give an honest referral based on our relationship. But a person will be able to glean whether I'm going to stake my reputation or not, you know, with that referral.
Right.
And it's because of my enthusiasm or the words that I choose in the referral. So you want to be able to have other people promote you. You want to be able to promote yourself. And one way is to promote yourself is doing sort of like what you're doing, right? You're doing a podcast. If you know of something that you're good at, do podcasts. Yeah. Create content. Create a blog. Do something that shows you know this industry and you know this industry well. And if you take all of those things and package it up, the 4 P's of marketing, you will always be a viable and valuable commodity to any organization or business.
That is, I mean, that book I told you to get,
Expert Secrets.
Expert Secrets. One of the first things he says is publish.
That's right.
And I was reading that again this morning, so I wrote it in my journal. It says if you publish, because I publish, but I don't publish every day. So if you publish every day for a year, never have money problems again.
Right.
So it's like, okay, all right, I have to take that challenge. All right.
Well,
And
you and I both, right? Because I got that book, Curtis. I'll tell
yeah,
you, I pick up my phone, I listen to it. I got the audio. I watch YouTube videos, and every day I'm learning. That is a powerful book.
isn't it? It's
Yes, it
just
is.
the frameworks, and like you've just created a great framework of how to explain this stuff. And
Yep.
because one of the things that, so tell me, what are when people are working somewhere, because this is for you, if you're working somewhere, you feel like you're not making enough money and you don't move up, because I find people don't know price,
Yep.
right? And they don't know how to even negotiate. They don't know how to negotiate
That's
first.
right.
And or even like a young person coming into the marketplace, a lot of times they don't choose. I always tell people, you correct me if, here's how I think. So I want you,
Yep.
to lean into that. But so I was telling my daughter, so listen, there's two sides of every business. There's you either on the sales side or
Yep.
in sales support.
Yep.
Okay.
Basically, yeah.
And so meaning that there's stuff over here that brings in revenue,
Yep.
and everybody else is a cost.
That's right.
And so if you've got to position yourself on the front end, so if I see these people, so-and-so just got promoted to the head of diversity, and what the hell is that? I mean, it's like you getting fired. Okay. As soon as they have a downturn or their stock buybacks don't work out, I don't see where that brings in revenue.
Yep.
I might be harsh. I don't know. But you know what I mean? And so if you're you look good and you on the cover of Black Enterprise with all, looking pretty, but you're going to get fired, okay? Let go, or what do they call it in the military? The government, subject to a reduction in force.
Yep.
And because you're not bringing in money. So I always tell people, think and grow rich.
Yep.
One of the tenets is specialized knowledge.
Yep.
With people and organize accurate thinking, right? And people want to skip that one because that's hard, but you just really gave a bunch of steps. And because a lot of people don't know their work. Because see, do you need Congress to raise minimum wage law for you to grow your income?
That's a question to me. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Why is that? Why don't you? Because that's what I told these kids that. I said, listen, you don't need minimum wage law. You just need to get better.
Yeah.
Your income is in direct proportion to the value that you bring to the marketplace. So
right.
What I've heard, you've worked on your skills, but more so than that, you can articulate your skills. Here is, if you pay me $250,000 or $100,000 plus bonus, because if they're going to pay you $100,000, they need to be making $500,000 to $1 million off of you.
That's right.
But you need to know that. So you got to know where you fit.
Yeah. Well, people struggle with how to articulate their value. Mm-hmm. I mean, so one of the things that you talk to people, you hear somebody make a jealous comment. I call it a jealous comment. They say, so-and-so is at this position and I know I work harder than them. And I just say to them, and I didn't make this up, but you are where you negotiate. And negotiations are tough. When you talk to people about salary negotiations and things like that, I mean, that's why I say you got to research the market, right? Yeah, so that at least you know where you should be. Then you have to know what additional value you can provide. And so one of the ways that I position myself, when I talked about that 17-page proposal that I created, what was built into that proposal was the way that I lead, manage, and work is that when you have these projects that have these major ROIs, I make sure that I deliver on them and then some, and then I can take the metrics to show that I've paid for myself 1 time, 2 times, 3 times over. And so I position myself not as a cost,
but as an
because right.
That's
so
right.
If you look at the way
you're a profit center.
I'm a profit center,
mm-hmm.
but if you think about where I sit, I mean, just basic accounting, you got the revenue mm-hmm. minus the cost of goods sold. I am not inside of that cost of goods sold, right?
Right.
And then you got selling and general administration. That's where I'm at, not in the selling part, but G&A. I'm a cost. But if I can come up with the ideas that are going to reduce that overall SG&A, then now my net operating profit is going to be bigger. And I can actually show that, right? And I can show the projects. So I manage my my department's overall budget. And I've been able to, along with the team and my boss, we've been able to consistently drive down our SG&A year over year while we grew from 3,000 people to 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So you look for these synergy opportunities. And the only way you're able to do that is you have to know the business.
Yeah.
So you have to know and learn the business and talk to the business people and then articulate in a way where you see something where money is leaking or we're paying for something that we shouldn't be paying for. And then being able to say, hey, let's make this decision. Let's do this. And we'll drive out our operations costs. And now you're just right there. You're not selling, so you're not bringing any top line, but you're helping to drive down that bottom line so that you're still maintaining a profit. Or
because every dollar you keep is $1 to the bottom line.
That's right.
And so, but again, what is Curtis doing? He's engaging in critical thinking. He's not showing up waiting for somebody to tell him what to do.
No, that's a recipe for being let go.
Yes.
Because you're letting somebody control you instead of being in control.
You don't necessarily have to go into business. If it's already an organization and if you will pay attention, you can figure out what do they call it? Intrapreneurship.
Yeah, but you got to learn the business that you're in.
Yeah.
Right. So I always said, listen, if something ever happened to me and I had just nobody would hire me, I would do my best to try to work at a McDonald's, but with the overall arching theme that I'm going to own a McDonald's, right? So I'm going to go in there, I'm going to do whatever I need to do at minimum wage, but I'm going to learn that operation. I'm going to talk to that owner every day. I'm going to show that I'm of value. I'm going to stay later than everybody else. I'm going to ask these questions. I'm going to have what I call my CQ, my curiosity quotient, right? Because, when I'm hiring people, I look for EQ, your emotional intelligence. Mm-hmm. I look for your IQ, which is less, because IQ is about taking a test and your intellect based on a certain subject matter. But then it's your CQ, my curiosity quotient. And people who are intellectually curious about things tend to learn better and faster. And so I'm going to become what I call that person's right-hand person. And I have this saying, I'm number one at being number two, right? And so I help people grow their businesses. And, you see the title behind my head, The Art and Science of Vision to Reality. That's the name of my next book that's going to talk about that and my realization framework experience. But it's the things that I will do, not to stay where I'm at, but to look at where I'm going. That's that vision, right? And and so I'll work my way back up. And I've had situations where I got knocked down and had to come back. So don't stay stagnant. Learn what you can around the environment. Russell Conwell that created Temple said, acres of diamonds. We're always searching for something, going someplace else, but everything we need to know is right here in front of us.
Yeah, you just got to lean in, and there's so much stuff. Boy,
oh yeah, right?
So it's like,
this is normal for us, right?
Right. I think that that is so powerful because I don't think people, let's talk about some, I want to move to, I have another question, but what are some pitfalls you see as you counsel with people or that they have come to you that have gotten laid off or just in fear of being laid off? What are some of the mistakes, I might have talked about it, that you see that just jump out that, hey, y'all got to stop doing this and start doing this?
So you already said the word. It's fear. Mm-hmm. So even when I talked about my book, The Art and Science of Vision to Reality, this is the work with entrepreneurs. But the same way I work with people looking for jobs, it's the 6 inches between ears.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I'll talk with people who got laid off and let's say they got a 6-month severance package. Right. And the first thing, so what are you doing? Well, I'm going to lay low for a minute. I'm going to take my time and look for a job. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just double dip? Like, why won't you just find a job as soon as you can and still collect that severance?
Right.
So that if something else happens, you are always ahead. But so one of the biggest mistakes I see is people get complacent depending on what they feel their current situation is. And they think that they can predict exactly when they can get the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just going right at it. The other thing I see is people don't look at what's all available to them. Right. And so look, get your unemployment, find out what grants or whatever is available to you right now. Look, even if you got to do welfare, do it until you get to where you need to be.
Right.
So look at what's available to you so that it becomes a backdrop while you go try to succeed.
Like a safety net, but not
safety
a
net.
way of life or a generational thing, like it's
exactly
in our communities.
Exactly. Just take advantage of your here and now. I say get yourself out of crisis mode till you get yourself into a stabilization mode. Right. So what's another mistake that a lot of people make? I think one of the biggest mistakes is downplaying their own value. And especially African Americans, what we do is we're just humble by nature, right? And we got to know
I fall into that.
Well, okay, I get it, and I know. But what I'm saying
I heard that. No,
my experience is that we don't allow ourselves to articulate our value boldly, and be comfortable with it. So I will work with people on their resumes, and I'll take their experience and I'll make it sound better, and it'll make it sound bigger because of my word choice.
Yes.
And they'll be afraid of it. They'll be afraid to represent the truth just because it's articulated in a different way.
Right.
So, that's one of the biggest, but that goes back to the mindset.
Yes.
Right. Yep. And it's all about the mindset. I mean, there are probably other items that I could probably think of, as we're talking, but.
So let me ask you a question. So with the global pandemic, so as we record this, we're still in the midst of, a pandemic. Do these same principles apply for job search now?
Yes. So listen,
maybe even more so.
I got promoted during the global pandemic, right? So, and I've seen a lot of jobs. In fact, I just brought on a couple of people. There were times when we first got into it, I had to let go of some contractors, but I built a model with my organization that I didn't have to let anybody go that was permanent. So if you had did the things that I talked about earlier, you can be somewhat pandemic proof. There are some industries that are being decimated, and I feel really bad. I mean, you talk about the airline industry, the cruise industry. So you're creating all this demand. And so it's not going to work for everybody, right?
Right.
Stimulus may have helped a little bit, but this is where we transition into entrepreneurship. Right now, if you're a real estate owner, for example, and you may have suffered because people can't pay rent. You owe money in the stock market. Well, the stock market is going up. So, but what I'm saying is there are so many different things you can do where you can prepare for a pandemic type situation so that you don't lose. But you got to do the preparation. You got to do the work. So in addition to building your brand up as a person that's employable by a job, you have to build your brand up as somebody that has things in place that will help you weather these types of storms.
Yeah.
So I would say no different, but so when you get to the pandemic, what you're doing is you're pulling those levers that you already put in place, right?
Yeah.
So providing that safety net, as you will, but it's tough. And the pandemic has changed things. Now, what you have to do is you still have to get yourself out there. So let's take, we're not getting together face to face anymore, not as much. But if you created a good business presence on social media, now's your opportunity. When people wouldn't join you for Zoom meetings, now that's how you do it.
Right.
So, I would not profess to have all the answers, but here's what I say about the pandemic. First, it goes back to find out what's available to you. So if you're an entrepreneur, get those grants that were offered to you, the unemployment that was offered to you. Find out what's available to you, and then figure out how you can survive, with maybe a new set of skills, right? That you didn't even know you had until you had to react to the pandemic. So, I don't know if I got the full answer to that because we're still in it, and I'm still learning just like everybody else.
Yeah, no, that's good though. So talk about people say, well, I'm going to go back to school, but they just be going to school, but it's not. I just hear so much stuff that's just not strategic.
Oh my goodness. So listen, I can relate this to so many different things. I want to go back to school. I'm going to build my company to $15 million. It's just people say that, right? So I go, okay, how much is school going to cost? And I'm not saying just your one time and your semester. Tell me the total cost all in going to school. And then I go, well, how are you going to get that money back? And then what are you going to go to school for? And will you get a profession that's going to give you a return on that money, that cash on cash return?
Right.
And then people start looking at me like I'm crazy. I say, think about what it is that you're trying to achieve, right? Are you looking to go to a specific area where you think you're going to make a specific amount of money? And is school the option, right? So it's a business case.
Yes.
When you start saying you want to go to school or you want to do this goal, and you got to think strategically. So I'll give you my own personal experience. So I went to undergrad and I did it night school, mostly using OPM. I was lucky enough to get my companies to pay for my undergrad. Then I was lucky enough to get somebody to pay for my grad school. But I'll tell you the process in between. While I was at Temple University, I had a professor that talked about what these schools call designer labels, right? And what I've learned is one school teaches the same thing as another school. And guess what? Now that you got this pandemic, Harvard is teaching online just like, Phoenix. Right?
Phoenix, I know. We're all this way. I might as well go to Phoenix.
Exactly.
Right.
I think the experience, say at Harvard, for example, is being around the people because it's highly competitive, and then you just grow from that, right? And so when I was looking at grad school, I remember my grandfather saying, "Are you going to go to grad school?" And I was like, maybe. But this professor said, if you're going to go and get a designer label that's going to give you a return on your investment. So I happened to see that the president of my company was going to be speaking at University of Penn. And I happened to see that because I was on a train and this guy was reading the Wall Street Journal, and I just happened to look and see his picture. Well, if that's where the president of my company is speaking, then that's the school I'm going to look into. And so they had an executive master's in technology management program. So there's that designer label, right? So I remember that professor. And then it's like, well, what's the return on investment? Oh my God, this school costs $40,000 a year. But what I did was I went to the president of the company and said, hey, I'm interested in going to this school. I see that you're very much involved. Is there a way that the company can sponsor me? And the answer ultimately was yes. But now I don't have a bill anymore. I have, an opportunity, and I went directly to the company president. I'm politically, my boss and a lot of people were mad, but there's that boldness, right? And I always believe if you want something, you got to ask for it, right? Because one of my colleagues said, I want to go to that school too. Why do you get to go? And I said, because I asked. So
you have not because you asked not. That's right.
I got to go to the school, and then I was able to leverage that designer label, not only with the opportunities that I got because I had the degree, but I actually worked with one of the people that I went to school with. I still travel with those people. I got an email today from one of the guys I graduated with who's working with my CEO and wants to come and have coffee. So my network is tremendous as a result of that. Somebody else paid for it. So it's got to be a return on investment on school. Otherwise, why do it? Because I've done this exercise with other people, and they actually will make more staying where they're at and just doing the natural progression than all the money that they will put out themselves to get there. Unless you just want it for pride. I will never discourage anybody from going to school. Just be strategic about it.
I say variations of this all the time. That's why and we hadn't talked about this, but I had a feeling you felt similarly about that, because people go just to go, but they're not strategic. I mean, because you have to look at it. So listen, it's like a real estate. You say, all right, I got it. This is going to cost X, 40,000. So what will this allow you to do? What will you make by making this investment, and what's your ROI? Minus taxes, right? Minus service.
Yep.
You have to look at it, and people aren't strategic, like, oh, I got my whatever. And they don't think about, well, what's the next step? It's like, got a person, she's not listening, but she's got $250,000 of student loans debts.
Yeah.
and is under an MBA and is unemployed based upon what she should be doing, making a little over 50 grand a year. What it's like, all right, what did you go to school for? And that's a classic case of, all right, I got my degree, but I'm not. And this particular person, what they want to do, in my mind, still doesn't pay enough to justify the debt load.
Yeah.
So I know it goes back to being strategic and seeing yourself as the product and the investment. That is so powerful. All right, let me ask you, when you think of job security, what does that mean to you?
Well, job security is intrinsic. And so what it means to me is that, one, in my specific area of competency, I continue to learn and place myself in a position where I know that position well. I am the authority in that room. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I got the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right? Then there's the network that I've built. So if I'm not saying it, it's the other people that are saying it. And so, my job security has been built. Listen, if we go back to 2002, one of the things that I realized after I got laid off is I didn't have anybody to call. I didn't I didn't have a network. Now, fortunately, I did. When I got my next job, it was because I finally made a phone call to somebody who used to work for me, because I carried myself, I kept my brand up, that they wanted to support me, but that wasn't a given, right? So job security for me right now is the given, how I got to do that 17-page proposal.
Yeah.
Well, actually, prior to the 17-page proposal was another job where I was turning in a BlackBerry. And you know how when you go to change phones or change numbers or something like that, you send a text to everybody saying, hey, I'm leaving this company, no longer using this phone. Well, my phone immediately buzzed back and said, can my HR department call you? And then I went to the next opportunity. So my job security comes in the network that I've amassed for myself for the skill sets that I have, and that people that I know want me to work with them on. Yeah. That's what the jobs, but that's a lifestyle, right? That I've started developing since 2002.
Curtis, as we wind down, what's next for you? I know you got another book coming out, so tell us what's next and what you got going on.
Well, so you heard about the book. And Morgan James is the publisher that I just signed with, so that's going to be coming out before the end of the year. I told you I'm still a VP at the specialty chemical company that I work for. So just still growing that space and growing the people that work for me. But then there's my entrepreneurial pursuits. So you're aware that I've gotten into real estate, and I've learned with my personality, I'm not big into the landlording. Right. But what I found is the ability to work with sort of the bonuses that I received, again, studying people who are wealthy and entrepreneurs, instead of like paying off debt or buying a big car or going on a big vacation. How do I use that money to make more money? So that's when I became a private mortgage lender and a hard money lender. And so that's the next area starting in the beginning of the year. I've actually already started that process, but I've actually worked with you on an overall strategy where I'm going to get that to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, that's still about helping people, right? So you got people who are flippers, people who just, the process of leveraging or using a bank may just be a little bit too daunting for people. So I'm here to, again, help people in the community. And so I want to grow that portion of my business. So those are the things that are next for me.
That's awesome. See, money follow value. And so you have to create. So if you hear a running theme for Curtis, he puts value out in the marketplace. See, money is a reward for creating value in the marketplace. And you shouldn't even expect money unless you put value in the marketplace. He's positioned himself. See, he's bringing value to that employer. That's why he can command salary. So, most of this is mental. You got to think about what you're doing. I mean, they want good people. I heard somebody say, look, you beat, I forget the exact number, like 70, 80% of the people out there if you just show up and work hard. Because most people can't even do that.
Right. Half the game is just showing up.
They can't even do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you read and do what we teach at Practical Wealth, now you read a book a month on money, right?
Yeah.
I now saying 2 books, like one on money and one on skill development. How to win friends, influence people, like for negotiate Jim Camp, start with no, and you start learning on those soft skills that will help you be better at your job. And you're in the top 10% because now you know how to think on your feet. You studied the business. You can have, really intelligent conversations. So Curtis can go into CEO and talk shop. It's not like, yes, a boss. You know what I mean? It's, it's like, hey, da 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 in this quarter, and you can talk about, and then that's a value because most people long for somebody they can have an intelligent, reasoned conversation with. That's it's hard. Like we both try to never to be. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I need to get a new room, and always working that up and challenging myself to get better, to be better, and to be the best.
Yeah.
So that's just by my nature of like I need to be the best. I need to be the financial advisor. He wants to be the best in his field. And see, here's the other thing. Once you want to get good at something, practice, study, and teach.
Absolutely. And you heard me talk about teaching.
Doing. Yes, about teaching, right? And so, because it forces you to examine your frameworks and make sure, okay, why did this happen? Why do I do this? Why, and then it brings it more conscious to you. And then you wrote it down. See, that's where I'm missing. I got to get a book out. Now that's a new challenge. All right. So that's good stuff. So listen, Curtis, how can they get in touch with you, get your book, get on the waiting list for your new book? Where would you like them to go?
I'll talk about this current book. So the only job search book you'll ever need, you'll be able to get this right off of Amazon, right? Amazon.com. Or you can go to my website, www.cjenkins.com. And if you order directly from there, I can send you an autographed copy of the book. As it relates to the next book, just send me an email at cjenkins, cjenkins.com, or find me on LinkedIn under Curtis L. Jenkins, and you'll be able to just let me know. And we're already setting up a mechanism for pre-orders. If anybody just wants to give me a call, just go ahead and do that. You'll find my information again on the website and in LinkedIn.
All right. So thank you for that. So listen, y'all, make sure y'all, this is actually one of my favorite episodes. So we've talked about, because most people are working and you can make more at your job. So I think y'all need to go back, listen this a couple times and get your notepads out because he dropped some serious science on you. Also, Curtis, you do talks on this stuff. When we can, let us out, off the lockdown. If somebody's hearing this and they want to bring you in to talk about these type of things, you have he's a media kit that you can request.
That's right.
But like the 4 P's of marketing is a whole workshop.
That's right.
And so he just gave y'all a taste of that, and you see how deep, because we could have talked about 2 hours just on that. I thought that's a few more things. And because security is the ability to produce. I mean, this is so awesome, Curtis. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So listen, guys, so go out there, go order that book. If you're working and you want to max out on your, as Jim Rohn says, wages make your living. So you need to max out on your living. Okay. Especially if you don't hate what you do, and then profits make you a fortune. Curtis does both. And I heard he had this brilliant financial strategist he works with.
Oh yeah.
His name is Curtis too. So, in all humility, thank you. Thanks again. And guys, go out there and make it a profitable day.
All right. Thanks, Curtis. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth.